Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Nestled on the eastern edge of the Austrian Alps, Red Bull Ring. I just said Austrian Alps, not Austrian Alps. Regardless, nestled on the eastern edge of the Austrian Alps, there we go. Red Bull Ring packs a historical punch mixed with modern track building flavor and creates an unmatched racing experience. Pair that with the drama, triumph, and defeat of the Simpit Road Racing Series, and we're in for a thrilling day of GTE racing as we near season's end. Hi, welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Spielberg, Austria. I'm Andrew Cardinal IV with Emerson Arden alongside, and we make the trip to Red Bull Ring, honestly, at a weird spot in the season. Emerson, Sam Holt is fighting adversity to claw back into the championship fight after a disaster at Daytona, yet he's not here today, all while Ed Santinelli opens up an impressive gap in AM, and this track, it really never lets anybody get away fully unscathed. It's always going to make everybody, in at least some way, its victim.
Absolutely. This track, it promotes a very intriguing environment, right? There's a lot of high-speed, long straightaways that are enticing to make overtakes. But then you get down to the corner, and it gets really tight around the apex. And all of a sudden, you're kind of putting yourself in a unfavorable situation. And that could lead to a lot of chaos today.
I think we definitely will see a bit of a flavor of chaos, at least sprinkled in some ways. We take a look at the track map here, and at the bottom end of the map, turn 1, Niki Lauda curve, Niki Lauda bend, whatever you want to call it, heads you up a long hill to the foothills, the real foothills of the mountains here, up into, I believe that's Remus Corner at turn 3, and then I really feel like the most opportunistic points on this racetrack are turns 1, 3, and 4. Those are your not only DRS zones for Formula 1, but your good passing opportunities here.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm one of a few that's kind of see these straights as when it comes to F1 like slipstream DRS fun fests, except if you're the leader of one of those trains in F1. But it really does. If you can get a great exit out of any one of those corners and you stay right in the toe of the car in front, you have a good chance to kind of send it up the inside of the next corner. Even if you don't really outbrake the car, you just got to keep it down to the inside, and more likely the car on the outside is gonna have to give up the apex at that. And there's a lot there. You can kind of either put the pressure on by making the overtake, or just sitting right behind and trying to get the driver in front to miss their brake marker by just a little bit, because there's some large sausage curves waiting for you on the exit of all of those corners.
Yeah, particularly on the exits of turn 1 and 3. There's some pretty big curbs there, and there's even the anti-cut you can see right there in turn 3 in the background as somebody spins out on corner exit. That's going to be a trouble too. They're all pretty quick corners. It's kind of a slow entry, but you got to get on power really, really quickly to make the most of them, and the track falls away from you out of turns 1 and 3, and a little bit as well out of turn 4. So they're all very, very tricky, yet, I guess, what's the word? They pay off nicely. They're tricky, but they pay off nicely if you can master them. The rest of the course is rather technical. Turn 5, 6, 7, 8, very fast sweepers. 6 at the top of the hill, 7 at the bottom of the hill, and 8 heads you down. Well, actually up and then back down the hill, quickly into turn 9, and 10 is the bottom of a hill as well. So a big compression there, but most cars will find that quite nice, a little bit of downforce, and get on through without too much issue. Let's check out the standings coming into today's race, Emerson. We talk about the situation for Sam Holt. He's got 3 wins of the season, added one last week, but not here today. Very much, I think, writes him out of the championship, and unless Todd Alea can get up there and maybe win again today, or even go second and at least put some points on Randall White, it's looking like a very much Randall White and Edgar Santinelli kind of championship this season. There are no drop weeks from what I've seen, and I just don't think anybody can close these gaps. And certainly over in AM, where David Payne is 42 points back, I don't see that happening. So I think very quickly the onus is on the guys in second and third there on the pro side, and Sam's not here. So really it's on Todd Alea. He's got to do something today.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at it, Randall White, Edgar Santinelli, they are very close to wrapping this bad boy up. They really just have to continue to consistently finish. We've seen over the past few races that Edgar Santinelli finds himself in trouble early, but then he has a nice recovery throughout the course of the entire hour-long race. He's one to not panic, and Edgar Santinelli, that's probably going to be one of the reasons why, if he's able to lock up this title. that he would have earned it, because he has been one to not panic in times of adversity.
Yeah, I think all season long, Sancinelli has been the top AM driver. I think there's been a race or two where he's dropped down second, third, maybe even fourth, and another driver has kind of topped the day. But overall, look at the entire season, Sancinelli certainly has been the top AM driver. And I think if you focus up on the pro battle, Todd Alea he's been there. He's been, I think, right in the same position almost as Randall White, as they're actually only a tenth apart right now in qualifying, third and fourth each. They've had such similar seasons where they're both quick. They each have a win. They just kind of float around the bottom end of the podium. Sometimes will podium higher, but they're right always in that cusp, in that conversation, at least a podium. Todd Alea and Randall White both. Randall White leading the championship. Todd Alea missed a race, and I think that's why you see him in that 33-point deficit. Otherwise, consistency speaks volumes for both. Currently on top of the qualifying standings, though, is Terry Crouch in a Ferrari 488. I'm kind of impressed, actually, that he's doing this in a Ferrari here. It doesn't seem like it's, the top-tier equipment for this racetrack. It seems like the BMW can be faster, maybe even the Porsche. So the Ferrari, under the hands of Terry Crouch, clearly doing something, although he doesn't have as big a lead as you might expect. Only 2/10 now, as Randall White goes to the second position in qualifying. I think we're going to see a pretty even race today.
Absolutely. And you know, we kind of saw a lot of this kind of go on at Daytona, right? And I think, you know, that's one of the tracks you can kind of compare to Red Bull Ring, although they don't really look that similar. You can think about it, there's a lot of high speed portions to Daytona and the Red Bull Ring. Not as many tight corners at Daytona, but they race pretty similar in terms of they offer a lot of opportunity to allow overtakes. I think the heavy braking zones of 1, 3, and 4 are going to break up the field a little bit more. But you kind of have this opportunity where the race can stay close, very much so. And if these drivers continue to give and take, we could see battles lasting for quite a while here.
Spin there for Generelli. Let's check in with the Corvette of Johnny Alford, a new paint scheme for him on his number 710. And I like everything you just said there, Emerson. It is a bit like Daytona, a bit like every other track in the world. It's just a whole lot all in one. There's so many comparisons you can make to certain corners or stretches on this racetrack. You've just got to try and attack it as a whole, I think, and do your best to get through the day of racing. 60 minutes of racing, that's going to be a test for these guys, certainly with these GTE cars. No ABS for them, that's going to be tough. And look at that look through turn 3 for Moses Choi. Boy, that was pretty.
Absolutely, right there. That is going to probably be the corner that we talked about the most today. It is trying to get those cars stopped down to turn 3 and then not running wide over the exit curbing. And around goes Stan Donnet into the gravel there through turn 7, and he'll rejoin the racing surface and we'll go again.
Here's Sam Hinchy, currently lined up in 10th in qualifying today. A bit of a smaller turnout, 23 cars, still a pretty vast field, I think, in terms of iRacing leagues, especially when you consider the different skill levels, the different personalities, and everything hidden within. So, pretty cool field regardless. James Dowling in the 11th spot, David Payne, the runner-up really in the amateur class. Well, he's 12th currently on track, which is second by some amount. I mean, we're talking 6/10 up to Ed Sancinelli. That is a large margin, 6/7 up there to his nearest amateur competition, as Hinchy actually goes to 7th on the board. How about Dan Clark, also an amateur, also in a Porsche, here in the 14th position. And Dustin Overlow actually just moved down to 16th as Kevin Burrows went faster, but here's Dustin Overlow in 16th in his Chevrolet Corvette C8R. And Chris Schultheis actually goes faster, moves Dustin back to the 17th position, and Schultheis goes up to the 16th spot. So there is some success, it looks like, for some of these BMWs, but they're still mired in that midfield, aside from Ed Sancinelli, who was up there in the 7th position. So we're just going to see, I think, a big melting pot of cars and skills around the course today. I don't think there's any real rule you can draw up for this place.
You're right. And out of these amateurs, I'm expecting to see maybe a little bit more out of Schultheis, but we've seen like David Payne and Oberlo, they've stepped up. Like I said before, with Sancinelli kind of getting into a little bit of into trouble early on in some of the races like Silverstone and Daytona. Those guys have kind of stepped up. They've kept it consistent. I know Dan Clark found a lot of speed at Daytona and wants to kind of make up for that. There's a lot of motivation this amateur field, and Schultheis has got to kind of step up to the plate and kind of get with it as well.
There's like a Ola Sarnquist into turn 3, it looks like here, and up and over the hill. And Ola was not here last week at Monza, which I thought was kind of interesting for him in that BMW operation, but finally back here today. And another guy who just has not been here in a while is Terry Crouch. It sounds like he's gone through maybe a health battle or two, and it just seems like he's in better health. We don't know the specifics, and, well, we don't need to because he's back in a race car. So it's good to see Terry back in the field and right back where we expect him as well in that TLDR Ferrari 488. He's not home free just yet in qualifying for the pole position, but he does have a large advantage over Joao Antonio. Talk about 2.5 tenths nearly between first and second, and even quite a ways back to Randall White, Kevin Burrows, Todd Alea for the rest of the top 5. Can't argue with that. I mean, Terry just looks good today.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to have Terry back. Again, getting it done at Circuit of the Americas earlier this season, so looking to kind of carry on from that. That was quite a bit ago, but again, missed the last couple races. Looking to get back in it, get back in the saddle, and see if there's any kind of strangle Terry Crouch can put back on this season.
You know what? Coda's a track I feel like you could compare to Red Bull Ring. Aside from the fact that Red Bull Ring does not have S's like Coda does, I think you could draw some other comparisons. Elevation change, quickness through the corners, the way you've got to attack some of these apexes, and the way you can use a little bit of runoff. I think Coda would actually draw some great comparisons here to Austria, and definitely similar in some ways. It's just that Coda is a rather large circuit, has quite a bit of length to it, and Red Bull Ring is quite the opposite. As Todd Alea, how about that? 2 tenths and a little bit of change off a pole, but he just picked up finally into the 125s. An impressive lap there from car 27. Randall White still on track, though. He could have something for us.
You watch White come through turn 9 and into the final corner, turn number 10. Very nice through the apex, using all that exit curbing that is allowed there on the exit into the start finish line. It'll be a 26.0. It's improvement on the time, but not an improvement in the positioning.
The only other cars that I see on track are Ed Santinelli and Alesh Mom. Santinelli here out of, into turn number 9. It looks like Alesh Mom may be wrapping up a lap up into the pit lane. So let's ride on board here with Ed Santinelli to the start-finish line and see if he can place that BMW any higher. He is 9th currently overall. That is still first in AM, and he swerves a bit to the line. He's not going to go any faster, so he will hold in the 9th overall position. Still a good starting spot, I feel like, for our amateur pole sitter. Has a bit of cushioning, about 3 positions back to David Payne. Still a decent spot for him to start from.
Absolutely, but again, all this can get jumbled up here on the start, and I'm very excited to see if people are able to take advantage or if they take it a little bit more easier here in the opening set of corners.
Let's take a look at our schedule as to how we got here and where we're going from here at Austria in round number 7 on November the 13th, 2022. Austin, Elkhart Lake, Watkins Glen, Silverstone, Daytona, Monza, and now Austria have happened or are happening today in the case of round 7. And all that's left after today, Emerson, Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji. 3 historic racetracks and 3 impactful racetracks in the world of racing, and I think in the world of the Simpit Road Racing Series as well. I'm excited to see how each of those rounds fit in to this schedule and to see exactly what role each of them play. Let's talk about our grid, as we've got 23 cars ready to go here at the Red Bull Ring. On pole, Terry Crouch. That's the wrong graphic. On pole, Terry Crouch. There we go. With Todd Alea on outside pole in car 27. Starting third, Joao Antonio in car 31. Randall White starts from 4th today. Kevin Burrows will start from the 5th position with Moses Choi there joining him around row number 3 rather. And from row 4, it's Johnny Alford and Chris Generelli. Starting 9th, however, that is your amateur pole sitter, Ed Santinelli, with James Dowling rolling off 10th.
For number 6, we'll find Sam Hinchy there in 11th. 12th will be amateur David Payne. Find our way back to row number 7 to Stan Donna, who took a little bit of a slide in qualifying. He'll end up in 13th. And Sean Cole there in 4th. A pair of pros there in row 7. Row number 8, we'll find another couple amateurs here with Dan Clark looking for some redemption. And Christopher Schulteis, who had a good run outing out at Monza, looking to keep that up. And find our way back to row number 9. It'll be Dustin Oberlo and Ken Stepp. And row number 10, we'll find Alesh Mom and Brandon Carl.
Nice new paint scheme there for Brandon Carl on that number 77 Chevrolet Corvette. Starting from 21st, Ola Sarnquist back in the field this week in his number 13 BMW M8. And starting from 22nd, Mike Nickham in his Chevrolet Corvette with Batman there on the side. And finally, rounding out the field through the trees there, you can just about see him. That is car 72, Christian Clark, also in a Chevrolet Corvette. And our blimp there, getting a good shot of those beautiful trees outlining the racetrack. We are ready to go then, Emerson. Let's check in on the weather as well. We're cooling down in the northern hemisphere, and of course warming up in the southern hemisphere, and cases of our great friend JP Costa, who usually joins us for these races. But air temperature here in Austria, the virtual Austria NOA, 65 degrees. Boy, that would be nice considering it is 50 currently in North Carolina. 71 degrees on track, and, well, winds out of the south about 7 miles per hour. Good day for racing. Great day for racing. On the cool side for sure, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, one of these graphics have a air temperature which is a little bit warmer than what it is outside me right now. But yeah, cool track, lots of grip, lots of speed. Can't wait. And the safety car is heading to the pit lane, Andrew.
Just like that, we're ready to go racing for 60 minutes here from Austria. The entire field works its way through turns 9 and 10 and onto the front stretch here at Red Bull Ring. Green flag will fly. Round 7 is off and away. Up the hill to turn 3, here we go. First side-by-side is what you're looking at. Johnny Alford and Moses Choi is there in front of a whole field of hungry drivers. And a couple of drivers slowed down a little bit extra. And there we go. James Dowling and some others in. Oh, that's Ed Sancinelli. Right in the middle of this. Our amateur point leader is in all kinds of trouble. Schultheis has no front bumper. What just happened to the third corner?
Ed Sancinelli, he got in turn 3 a little hot, and he ended up catching the car to his outside, which I believe was Dowling. And unfortunately, Dowling came back across Sancinelli, and they spun in front of a bunch of them. How about there's another one off there? That's Alesh Mom going off there. I believe that's off of turn 4.
That it is, and wow, a lot has just happened already, and we're only a minute and a half, not even, into this round here at Red Bull Ring. Austria always gives us all kinds of drama as the field works through turn 9 now. When they wrap up this first lap, we'll go back and check out what happened there in turn 3, and there we go. The field gets on by Terry Crouch leading, Todd Alea second, then Joao Antonio, Randall White, Kevin Burrows, Moses Choi, Johnny Alford, Chris Generelli. David Payne is now your amateur leader in 9th over Sam Hinchy. Let's go ahead and look back. Turn 3. Wow, that was pretty crazy.
Absolutely, Andrew. And we were looking at this start to bring a little bit of the chaos today. And certainly it did there in turn 3. And then, of course, Alesh Mom also getting the short end of the stick there with an incident off in turn 4. And we'll see here. Here we go with the field rolling down the front straightaway.
We're going to watch mostly our amateur points leader and pole sitter here today, Ed Sancinelli, as he went into turn 3. You see the Frito Sport BMW was in a nice spot here with James Dowling right behind, and it seems like that's where things start as they head up the hill to Remus Corner. I have no clue what's going to end up happening here. I could imagine that maybe Dowling, we saw him spin first, maybe he ends up out on the outside curbing and collects Sancinelli, and Hinchy actually gets in real deep. Sancinelli there, a little bit of contact with Dowling, and yeah, what did I tell you? Dowling out to that outside curb, catches Sancinelli, and cars just pile in. Unfortunately, all 3 BMWs in our field caught up in the same incident.
Yeah, very unfortunate for them, but we've seen this story before for Ed Sancinelli, so I would definitely keep an eye on him, as he's definitely one to battle his way back through the field. We'll get another look at this here from Sarnquist.
Into turn 3, he's following Alesh Mom ahead. And he's quite a ways behind all of this. He's going to try and dodge left and ends up still getting the back end of Schultheis, and then comes over, and there is Santinelli trying to get himself righted all at the same time. Ola Sarnquist really nowhere to go in all of that. And while that was happening, while we were checking out the replay there was an issue for Johnny Alford. It looks like he has resolved it, but he has dropped into the 19th position, while Santinelli actually is working off of the pit lane. And Dowling and Schultheis are currently off the racetrack, not out of the race just yet, but off in 22nd and 23rd. There's a look at Santinelli rejoining in turn 1. Out of all of that, our best battle on the track currently looks to be right about for the 5th position. Kevin Burrows, Randall White, actually call that 4th position as the Porsches will look to do battle.
We're going to wade through 7 and 8 and now on the way down to turn 9. Riding on board with Kevin Burrows, trying to see if there's anything he's got for Randall White up the road. And we begin our run down the straightaways. We get a car off that Stan Donnet, same area he went off in qualifying, just on the other side of the racetrack.
Stan rejoins and now drops down to the 15th position. I know he's a fan favorite. Unfortunately, his Valentino Rossi kind of paying homage, tribute there, paint scheme. Well, it's not doing the best for him right now. A little bit of off track is never what you want to have happen for a Valentino Rossi paint. Thankfully, though, he's got 4 wheels and he's not knocked over. It does have Mike Nickham up the rear here. And we'll see if maybe Stan can, well, stand on it and pull away.
I like that.
I don't know how we haven't said that yet this season. I really don't know how we haven't used that one at some point as, oh, Christian Clark in trouble here in turn 1.
Oh, no.
That is a precarious place for a Corvette. I'm not sure I've seen one parked there before, but that is not a parking position. So he gets the parking ticket, pulls off and away.
And that's far off the racing surface to the right-hand side. So that was a lot of speed that they carried off the corner to end up on that inside guardrail.
Clark started 23rd, is currently still 20th ahead of Santinelli, Dowling, and Schultheis, but now the final car on the racetrack after Alesh Mom went on by. Stan Donnet putting some pressure now on Brandon Carl. We made some jokes about Stan a moment ago, and, well, he's starting to put those jokes to rest as he actually pressures Brandon Carl here for 14th spot. And the jokes are all made in love. We actually love Stan Donnet quite a lot. He's one of the best guys, I feel like. Best personalities in the Simpit Road Racing series. I know he checks in for the Friday kind of weekly streams with Sean Cole a whole lot. And I know if you're one of those guys in the Simpit, you know who Stan Donnet is. That's kind of just how it goes.
Oh, and absolutely. I thought the pun was all positive anyway. It's a layup, that pun, by the way. I love it. But now he's under a little bit of pressure here, so he will have to, unfortunately. Oh no, Terry Crouch out of the running order.
I see it. It is definitely a network blip for now on Terry Crouch. We're waiting to see if he is able to come back as Brandon Carl misses turn 3. That is exactly what Stan Donnet needed. And
no, it's packet loss. No, that
can confirm Terry Crouch out of the race.
Wow. Terry Crouch was looking to bounce back, had a great run, of course, starting up front, and all of a sudden, one of the top runners in this race in trouble.
Kind of just always difficult to wrap up what happens to a driver when they get knocked out by packet loss, but let's ride on board and you'll see the exact moment where, unfortunately, Terry Crouch gets disconnected from this race. They're leading the opening 4 laps here in Austria. Started first, was running first. And at a turn number 3, right about here, yep. Terry Crouch,
a massive advantage.
Out of the race. He had already worked up at least a second and a half or so. I mean, he had already worked up a nice gap back to Todd Alea, and unfortunately that is not only gone, but he's gone from the race, and we suddenly have a much more enthralling battle, if you will, for the top 4 positions. 4 Porsches in a line. Kind of interesting how these guys tend to dominate this series, and yep. Oh, 3.5 seconds, Terry's confirming as he checks in with, unfortunately, no internet. Must be the data on his phone. That is rough. That is always the worst. Especially when you're leading. Like, sometimes it saves you from a kind of a bad day on the track, but when you're leading and that happens, that's just the sim racing gods looking down upon you and saying, nope, not today.
It hurts. That one's going to sting for a bit. I'm sure Terry very much felt this race was in his control, his grasp, and he was going to be holding on to it for the next 52 or so minutes. Clearly the speed is there for Terry Crouch, and if he can just get one of these bad boys to sneak it through all the way, certainly we'll look to get another one of these soon. But that one's gonna sting.
Well, you know what? I know it doesn't affect the amateur points that they earn, but this does mean that with two pros and one amateur out of the race already, some of these AM guys are going to get some decent results today. I think we're going to have at least 2 or 3, like we have now, amateurs in the top 10. We currently already have David Payne and Daniel Clark, and I think it's absolutely reasonable to expect Dustin Oberlo here to work on Sam Hinchy, maybe take that 10th place away, and behind Dustin is Kenny Stepp. So we could even see 4 amateurs potentially in the top 10 today, and maybe even more. This is going to be a weird turning of the tides in that regard. But again, these guys earn their points separately in the Simpit Road Racing Series. So pro and amateur, they're not really racing for points with each other. It's just a matter of where they finish on the racetrack and really track position, if you will. So yes, it would be great for Dustin to go get that 10th spot, but at the same time, it's not going to affect him the way he stacks up against Dan Clark or Kenneth Stepp.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just more of a morale boost, more than anything. And for what it's worth, Sancinelli, like I usually say, he's proved it before. You know, he's able to kind of bounce back from early incidents. Well, this time he had to sit in the pit box for quite a while. He's lost a lap. So as far as Sancinelli kind of bouncing his way back and running his way through this amateur class today, it looks more and more unlikely. Him already being a lap off the pace.
And unfortunately, in the case of Sancinelli, that incident did not happen late enough into the run where he could just use that as his pit stop and kind of fake his way until he makes it, right? Sometimes you can make that work. That's not going to happen for him today. It was too early on in the race, being lap 1. There's no way he's able to stretch fuel the rest of the race. So just a rough day all around for a lot of great drivers. But you know who it's not rough for is the guy leading, Todd Alea. I don't want to say gifted the race lead, but kind of gifted the race lead after a 3.5 second gap was erased after connection issues for Terry Crouch. And you know what? To pad Todd Alea a little bit, he is second place. Well, was second place, now first, and putting time on Joao Antonio. It looks like at random spots. Sometimes Joao gains a little back, but holding that 31 car off is no easy feat.
Absolutely, a lot of pace up here, and again, they're pros for a reason. They're going to keep themselves in this race. They're going to keep themselves in check, and being Alpha, these guys are still running relatively in a train. We're very much seeing these guys kind of just click these laps off, let the time kind of work its way down. Everybody's kind of run the same pace. There's no need to make any aggressive moves that could, kind of break up the flow of this train. I know Leia's getting a little bit of a margin now, almost a second over Joao Antonio, but still, these guys, they're not necessarily working with one another, but they're not going to work against each other right now.
And you can see just in the background there, Moses Choi in 5th, completing this kind of, what was it, I don't even know, cinquette, if you will, cinco. It's not a quintet, it's not a quartet. Not really sure what it would be, but anyways, the top 5, all Porsches, and Moses Choi rounds that off. What would that be?
I think it is a quintet.
Quintet, maybe. Might be. I have no clue. If somebody knows out there, by all means, let us know. I haven't the slightest idea. Randall White, 7/10 off of Joao Antonio. It's worth mentioning him as well. Yes, Todd Alea is gaining points currently, but is it really enough with 4 races to go, including today? Well, it's currently a difference of 15 points. And while first to third does not feel like much, Emerson, 13 points when you're 33 out, that is one of the 2 races you have to make up.
Yeah, right now that would cut it in half, and it's it's still a train. It's not like Randall White is out in the clear. Randall White, while he does also have the same opportunity to gain spots, also has a very decent chance that cars behind could make an overtake on him. So it could be we could be talking about first to fourth at the end of it, and who knows? And then it puts a very precarious math on the line. And Todd Alea, he kind of has the upper hand in terms like not only that he's leading, but he's got the momentum. What are we talking about? 4 finishes in a row of second place or better. And Todd Alea is feeling that, gaining control of the race, getting the speed.
Yeah, Todd Alea has been sensational so far in this, I guess, the first 5 races he's put together here in the Simpit Road Racing Series, this making it 6. And, oh, there goes Sarnquist around out of turn 7. And he comes to a stop and tows back to the pit lane. And that looks to be it for driver of the 13. And yes, it looks like he has left the racetrack, unfortunately. It's also worth mentioning it's a 1.5 second gap now between first and second. And, I don't know if Todd is trying to buy into the forget saving fuel and just go run and put time on Joe Antonio. But, fuel saving has been the talk of the town all season long. And it really is in this style of GT racing. This is kind of interesting that Joe is not able to keep up right now with Todd Alea. Is it a strategy play from Todd, or is he just faster right now, even saving fuel maybe?
Well, if it is, you can think about it as the more he pulls away from Joe Antonio, the less slipstream he's giving him, the less toe down the straightaways that Joe gets, and the more fuel he's going to have to use, especially as the lead of now what's looking like a 3-car pack, and Antonio's going to be the one kind of being used up here, kind of being screwed with the way things working out. But maybe Alea just has this down to a T. For what it's worth, I don't know if there's a whole lot. I mean, he's proven at least the past 4 races in a row that he can at least get second. So Leia might have something figured out.
On board here with Joe Antonio, he is just ahead of Randall White. And I like that you touched on the slipstream part of this. Joa no longer has a draft to Todd Alea. He's got to bear the full brunt of that air ahead of him. And in Daytona, we saw Sam Holt do something I think that was unprecedented and pit and try and get off strategy, and it actually just about worked out for him until his hardware said, nope, not today. Go ahead and pit early as the leader, and you can draft off of people. You can draft off of cars in the mid-pack, and now those guys that are second, third, trying to use your slipstream to save fuel and beat you, well, now they're having to deal with the full brunt of the air out there, and they're the ones leading the pack. So we saw that strategy at Daytona. We're seeing, I think, kind of the inverse of that, if you will, where it's still the same kind of idea. You get away from the guys that are trying to use your draft, but in this case, Todd is driven away, and now Joe Antonio has to deal with the lead.
And I think that's one of the main differences, right, that you can tell between Daytona and Red Bull Ring, is you have more leeway to kind of get away from your competition here if there is a scenario like that, right? Daytona, it's very much set up to be slipstream kind of all the way around. None of the turns really at Daytona really break up slipstream packs or anything like that. But here you have heavy braking zones that can do the trick here at Red Bull Ring.
I've been informed, by the way, Matt Doyle says it is a quintet of 5 cars. So, you know what? It sounded right, and I guess it is right. A quintet.
I was thinking it was something like that. That sounded right.
Would it be a sextet that includes Christian Arelli? I think that's how that would go. Of 6 Porsches out front, could you include David Payne, make it a septet? 7? Sean Cole, an octet of 8 cars? Dan Clark? Oh, we've got 9. Well, what is the number up to 9? Oh, we got 10. The entire top 10 is Porsches here. The GTE class definitely dominated by Porsche 911 RSRs, and in fairness, it is one of the best sounding race cars of all time. But man, it's definitely Porsche heavy at the top of the field.
A Decatet?
Ooh.
Are we getting too...
Yeah, I don't know. A Dectet. I have no clue.
Decatet?
A good look, though, at Sam Hinchy's Porsche. It's actually, there's a battle on the racetrack. Johnny Alford has just gone on by Kenny Stepp. This is a battle for 14th, 15th, and 16th with Brandon Carl in the mix. A couple of Corvettes and a Porsche. Or, sorry, a Ferrari.
Yeah, it seems like that the Corvettes, the Ferrari, well, the Ferrari doesn't seem like it is, but the Corvette, I might just be too heavy to kind of really sling that bad boy around here. The Porsches might just be the better choice, at least from the looks of it here. Pretty nimble around the Red Bull ring, and you can see here we're kind of right on board. That car losing a little bit of a touch there to the cars in front.
Well, Carl's got a little bit of damage, I believe. Brandon Carl's got some damage to his Corvette, and maybe just a little bit there on the left side. It's not as bad as I thought, but it is crunched up a tad, or scraped up anyways. I thought it was worse. It's really not that bad, but yeah, I'm not sure what the issue is then for Brandon Carl as he loses time to Kenny Stepp and Johnny Alford. Stan Donna, by the way, all over Dustin Oberlo, and Dustin for a moment looked like he was going to challenge Sam Hinchy possibly into a mistake. That is no longer the case. I don't know what has changed that. It's actually Randall White. Oh, here we go. This is second, third, and fourth. They've just swapped spots. Randall White goes by into turn 3, and now he's the lead of this pack, and Joe Antonio gets to save fuel over Kevin Burrows there.
Well, here we go. The race is on, and Randall White, he is thinking to try to maintain any advantage he has. Well, the advantage he has atop the standings. He's going to get out in front. Or maybe Joe Antonio was thinking that he needs to save fuel, and he's got to get right behind Randall White to kind of fulfill a strategy, a fuel number, if you will. And we watched that kind of unfold there. Looks like they're going to...
I think Randall's just faster. Watching this lap, even just the half the lap since Randall took the second spot over, I think he's just faster right now than Joa. I don't know if there's anything wrong with Antonio's car, but he's just not as quick. And even here comes Kevin Burrows now.
There we go. Yeah.
Up the front stretch of turn 1, and Kevin Burrows, I think, is going to make easy work of Joe Antonio in this first corner. Maybe not, as they go side by side, and out wide goes Joa, but still side by side, not relenting.
And all this lets Randall White open up a margin. These guys are going to continue to battle up the hill, and now these guys, they're too far away from Randall White now. This is the battle for third, and that's nearly contact there at the apex, and they continue side by side.
This battle's not done yet. And there, finally, Burrows gets back in behind Antonio, trying to use draft. Is he going to poke back out in turn 4? Nope, not happening there. I think now Kevin Burrows is going to set himself back up for turn 9, 10, or turn 1 maybe even, having to wait all the way back. That's kind of the weird thing about Red Bull Ring is it's so racy, but after you get out of turn 4, man, the line just narrows up. And I think Kevin, very much aware of that, gets back in behind Joe Antonio, not fighting right now. Let his tires cool down maybe a little bit, and then fight back at it in turn 1. All the while, I noticed that Stan Donna has dropped down now to the 14th position. I have no clue what's happened to him, but he's now behind Johnny Alford and Mike Nickham. By the way, Mike Nickham, this is, I think, a career day for him in the series. 12th position currently. Rather impressive. Well, let's go back to Kevin Burrows as he powers up the front stretch. Does he have anything this time for Joe Antonio? The answer to that question is no.
Yeah, I think Antonio finally sounded the alarms, picked up the pace. Maybe there was a little bit in reserve there, and it is now 4 horses here at the Red Bull Ring trying to get up the hill and get away from Kevin Burrows, especially as Randall White has just gotten up and left this battle. Antonio will want to at least try to settle in and kind of continue on with his race.
There's a look at Randall White, currently in the second spot. And he's putting time on Joe Antonio, and briefly had broken into under 3 seconds to Tanalea, so he's quicker, I think, than the rest of his competition. Just not entirely consistent, because as quickly as he gained Emerson, he lost a little bit of it, and I say that, you can see some smoke ahead. Maybe a little bit of lockup there from Tanalea in turn 4, but he gained time regardless, so I don't know. I think Randall is the best car in any given corner, but I don't think he's consistent right now enough to link them all together and actually put down the laps he needs to. It seems like he's got the pace. It's just a matter of actually linking the corners together and using it to its fullest potential.
I'd agree with that. You can see last lap, Alea actually had a faster lap by over a tenth, and Randall White, even though he got out in front, he's lost a little bit more time this lap as well. So maybe with Alea's lead, maybe he started to back off the pace a little bit. Maybe noticed then Randall White kind of broke through the second pack and has picked it back up. That time a massive, well, I say massive, but a 3/10 difference in the favor of Todd Alea.
Watching on board here with Randall White. Good to hear those rumble strips there on the left side into turn 3, and Randall attacks that corner, and he's picked up a little more, a couple of tenths in the first half of the lap, but then loses it at a turn 3 and back up to 3.4 seconds. It's that ebb and flow, Emerson. I don't think there's really any clear advantage right now. I think Randall, at his best, is a little faster, but also, who knows how hard Todd Alea is running right now.
Maybe Randall is a little bit faster. Like you said, he's a little inconsistent. But I've seen the past 4 races that Todd Alea does have that consistency. And I'm sure Todd Alea, he's not holding his breath at the very moment. Feels he's very much in control of what he's got. Randall White, he's going to put up a valiant effort, of course, and, trying to, maintain the point lead he has to top the standings. But I think Alea feels at least to have the stronger cart today with the clean air.
While they try to run each other down up front, or I guess try to outdo each other in pace between Alea and White, here's this battle for third still. Kevin Burrows closing back in for this third position. The sun glinting off those Porsche emblems on the hoods of these cars. Where is the move going to happen?
Well, Kevin Burrows saw that Antonio put up an outstanding fight on the outsides of some of these heavy braking zones and was able to hold the advantage for that third position. So unless there's a very big opening or an opening that is inviting enough for Kevin to try again, I wouldn't really make a move that I'm questioning, and maybe until after the pit stops.
Now, of course, we do not expect anybody to take tires today. That would be certainly outside of expectations, but having a full set of fuel load back in the car can always help settle the car down depending on the setup. As here's 3 Corvettes in a line. Oberlo, Nickum, and Alford. Kind of precarious that Alford is this far back, kind of odd for sure. In the 13th position currently, fighting here with Mike Nickum into turn 4.
Not banner days for Alfred or Donnet today, and a little bit of a blink out there. They'll keep you on just fine, but still looking. There's still a lot of time to recover. There's still time to fight their way back into the top 10 here, and they're still with a pack. Very much two slots up for grabs here to kind of rebound this day.
This first half of the broadcast, of course, brought to you by Gomez Sim Industries, GSI for short. A big thank you to them for being such great partners of the Simpit Road Racing Series, and again, presenting the first half of each of these broadcasts. A big thank you to everybody here with the Simpit Road Racing Series, of course, the Simpit, thesimpit.com, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. Watching this battle for 11th, 12th, and 13th. And finally, there goes Johnny Alford, maybe for turn 3. And once these guys wrap up, we've got to recap the battle for third as a pass has just been made. Alford finally at the inside of Nickum will take that spot away. Let's go back and check it out between Burrows and Antonio. It happens between turn 1 and 3, and I think it's a result of running wide if you're Joe Antonio. Let's go back and look.
Yeah, Burrows have been piling on this pressure lap after lap, right? And it was only a matter of time until maybe Antonio felt the pressure, maybe ran a little too wide. We'll see here a great run out of turn 10 there for Kevin Burrows, but not close enough to really force an overtake here to turn 1. So Antonio a little over the rumble strips there, entering 1, misses the apex, and that was it.
And up the hill, Burrows just has position on him at this point. A bit more momentum up the hill as well. And slowly gaining on him. You'll see Antonio enter the frame there on the right. And in turn 3, just into the braking zone. And drives right away at apex. That was beautiful.
Yeah, he muscled past Antonio without making any contact with him. That was taking the space, claiming the space, and running away with the spot.
We join this battle live now, 11th and 12th, but actually let's move up a little bit to 7th and 8th. This is David Payne and Sean Cole amongst the 10 Porsches leading the field. David Payne, an amateur driver, Sean Cole, a pro driver, and Payne is leading, by the way, in amateur now with the advent of Santinelli being the last car currently running. So Payne, I think, is going to have an easy run to a victory here today.
Absolutely, and think about the shakeup of the points this is going to cause. Because what, Santinelli came in with a 42-point advantage coming into today's race. This is going to be a massive run in the favor of David Payne today.
It looks like Santinelli is currently 7th in class as he actually comes into the pit lane. Don't tell me he's parking it. That better just be a scheduled pit stop.
We're at the halfway point. This could be a fuel stop.
It could be. So we'll see if that is the case for Santinelli as he's on the pit lane. But let's compare some notes. I mean, that's a difference of 24 points. So he's, what, 18 points out now? David Payne will be, and that's 3 races to go. Oh, suddenly the race is back on.
And let's be real, Santinelli, he has not been able to get clean starts to these races this season. He's had some great recoveries, like I said, but Santinelli does tend to find himself in some trouble. Usually tend to qualify with the back end of the pro field. Tends to catch him out.
Into the second half of the race, Mike Nickum comes into the pit lane, and this portion of today's broadcast brought to you by Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports. Nickum pulls away. Fuel service there of 13.3 seconds. That is shorter, significantly shorter than what Ed Santinelli took in the pit lane of nearly 16 full seconds on the box. So Santinelli already, again, behind on the mark, and I don't think he's even going to catch the guys that he's racing in the back end of the amateur class. I think it's just an off day entirely for Ed. This, the battle for 7th, though. Back to Sean Cole as he tries to put pressure on the amateur leader.
And again, David Payne, he, I know 7th would mean a lot overall for David Payne, right? But being that he has this advantage now in this amateur category, if he's getting put into some tough spots here with Sean Cole, I would almost give it up.
Yes.
Just kind of bring the car home with the day you've kind of built up to this point. Right now, it's a battle, it's a race. They're both in Porsches. Let the racers race. But at the same time, if it gets to a point where you could put yourself in a bad spot, just give it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree with that, Emerson. I think if, like you said, if any of this battle puts you in a weird spot, a spot where maybe you aren't as comfortable, give that spot up. It's really not worth the fight at that point, considering there's no point difference between him letting Sean Cole go by and keeping Sean Cole behind him. So really, nothing would change. Absolutely nothing would change in the championship for David Payne. It would literally just be a bit more sense of security. But obviously, if he feels safe battling here, then keep after it. Keep racing. That's what it's all about, is to have fun racing. And, how much thought are these guys putting into, do I have to let that guy by or not? Or can I let that guy by or not? I think these guys, they're racers at heart. David might not even have that in consideration.
Certainly. Maybe David just looks at this overall and says, right now I'm running 7th and I'm going to keep 7th, and rightfully so. Has done a great job of putting himself here, and we'll see how this race plays out. Actually is gaining some time on Sean Cole.
As we near pit stops, our leader is still Todd Alea. He's got nearly 4 seconds back to Randall White. And while that all continues on as we get down to the time to pit, we're going to go Pit Stop TV side by side, and we'll rejoin you in just a few moments. Welcome back to the virtual Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. 2.66 miles in length, a little over 4 kilometers. It is a rather short road course, rather short Grand Prix course for Formula One, but today it is playing host to the Simpit Road Racing Series GTE cars, and they are buzzing around all over this place. Still 19 cars left running. Pit stops starting to ramp up as we hit 23 minutes to go here. Just a few seconds. Look at that view. That is a quality view there in turn 3 as a few cars come on through. It looks like a Leshman maybe, and maybe even Moses Choi in there, and just watching those cars go by. That is one heck of a shot. You can see, of course, that bronze bull in between turns 6 and 7. I will say, Emerson, this has been one of those great races once again this season. We've seen so many of them throughout the course of these 7 races now, and it's right up there as one of the better ones for sure. A whole lot of drama. Terry Crouch on pole led the way through the first 4 laps of the race, and since then, it's all been Todd Alea growing now. That lead up to 4 seconds. We had a great battle for third. We had great battles throughout. And even Ed Sancinelli, while he is effectively out of this race, he is still 19th on the racetrack and about 7th in class. Yes, he's losing a lot of points, but he's staying in this race so that he can hang on to the amateur points lead and fight through Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji with David Payne.
Absolutely. The points shakeups today have been something else. Randall White has clawed back any deficit that he's losing. Sancinelli fighting tooth and nail. He's going to pick up any scraps he can to keep himself afloat atop the standings, and very much so. The intriguing race is coming up for this championship battle, and we'll have to see how it plays out. And you and I were talking in the break, Andrew. I'm starting to think that this hour format, it just might be the way to go for sports cars. It kind of keeps the action compact, not too short, not too long, and we've been getting great races all season.
Yeah, you know, I particularly like short races personally. I really like the pressure that it puts on drivers to perform quickly, and especially if you run it in kind of a dual race format, which these guys are not doing, but it gives drivers a chance to reset. In this case, it's still a bit of a sprint race. It is still a short race by GT racing standards, but it's long enough that it feels slightly attrition-based, and there certainly is attrition to it. You've got to make sure you last all 60 minutes, and that is no easy feat for these guys, and it definitely is rather compelling and rather exciting to watch. 20 minutes to go. We have now broken the top 10 all being Porsches as Sam Hinchey pitted not too long ago, giving the 10th spot up to Chevrolet Corvette car 710, Johnny Alford. So things changing a little bit in that regard, but really not too much. Sam Hinchey should, work back out into the 10th position once pit stops complete. But regardless, it's a nice little note there for now.
A little bit of a boost in the direction of Johnny Alford. Could have the opportunity to see how pit stops and strategy shakes out. He might have a go at 10th. Right, it looks like Cincy had a very clean in and out, but we shall see. 20 minutes to go, and we still have the entire top 14 to hit the pit lane.
Just watching Johnny Alford around the circuit through turn 2. There really aren't many battles. The one battle I think worth mentioning, though, is Sam Hinchey on Brandon Carl. And we talk about Hinchey's easy in, easy out. But if he hits this kind of resistance, you can absolutely lose enough time to Johnny Alford to actually work out behind the 710 after pit stops cycle through. So this is not ideal by any means for Sam Hinchey.
Actually, Andrew, I'm looking at a little bit more. I don't see a box time there for Hinchey. I don't know if it's a...
Oh, it might have been a penalty.
That's what I was about to say. I don't actually know if that was his pit stop.
Wow. I think you're right. Just 16.3 seconds straight through in the pit lane. You can see it there. No time in the pit box. Not what you want to see for car 93.
All of a sudden, that 10th place for Johnny Alford it is more legitimate. And well, the race continues on with that in mind. Hinchey now trying to claw back what he can from 15th. And you see Carl kind of opened up a little bit of gap there.
Yeah, that gives Brandon Carl all the more right to fight in this case for that 14th spot over Sam Hinchey. And really, I think it means that he doesn't have to worry about behind him. He can start to focus up again on Kenny, step out front, that Ferrari. While this goes on, the battle for 11th is on as well. We kind of went to it briefly. We're back to it with Stan Donnet chasing down Dustin Oberlo. It's been a rough day for Stan. A couple of spins in qualifying, a bit of a moment earlier on in turn 7, but here we go. This might be an opportunity on Oberlo. This is big.
Yeah, big lockup there for Oberlo into turn 3. Opened the door for Donnet. Donnet couldn't get the run up off the corner, though. Well, Oberlo missed the apex. He got a straighter shot out of the corner, and a send up the inside won't be there. So Oberlo holds on over Donnet. And the area that Donnet has been struggling with, we're coming up to it. It is a pretty tough area for VGT cars. The weight shifts quite a lot here. You're trusting the downforce of the tires a lot through here, and it's tough. And less grip through these corners as well. And now we got cars in the pit lane here. Here's Generelli.
Chris Generelli on pit lane, and you're right, Stan Donnet struggling in a portion of the racetrack that it makes sense to struggle in. The more technical middle portion of the lap. It's not at all easy. You're relying on downforce and mechanical grip, and if you're missing on either one of those two things in the setup, you're just not going to have a good day. I'm not going to lie. When I take practice laps here, I go off track there quite a lot. So I certainly get it there for Stan Donnet. Generally back on course as he files out into the 10th spot, and actually it looks like Dan Clark maybe just lost this position. Yes, he did, to Johnny Alford. This is for 8th overall now. So Alford moving his way up.
And all of a sudden, the day that was looking a little grim, looking pretty nice, or well, looking nicer now for the 710 machine up the hill. There you go.
This is back up to Brandon Carl, Kenny Stepp, and Sam Hinchey. And here we go, Todd Alea into the pit lane. Your race leader finally comes in car 27. 16 minutes to go. These guys went quite deep. I'm kind of surprised.
Seeing if few numbers are being played out here. They went deep, and that's without Alea really having any slipstream.
We're expecting, about 13 seconds for Todd Alea there, 12.6. How about for Joa Antonio? He had a lot more opportunity to save. It's 11.13. And for Moses Choi, also in the pit lane, 10 and 11 and a half seconds. Also in, David Payne, your amateur race leader, and Sean Cole, who he was battling with. Dan Clark comes in, second place in amateur today. And you can also see the 72 of Christian Clark on the pit lane. He files back out. Sean Cole all over the accelerator there and hitting the rev chip in 11 seconds. Stan Donnet comes in. There goes Dan Clark back out. So
yeah,
fast.
Everybody's coming in.
Everybody. I mean, this is absolutely the mark where everybody has to come in. There you see 11.18 seconds for Donnet. Brandon Carl also comes in. Sam Hinchey in his Porsche. Oh, and Hinchey's taking tires.
Oh, no.
You know what? He probably set his pit before the race. Had to come in for that penalty, and I'll bet it reset the tires. This is not at all what you want for Sam Hinchey. Not only does it add time, but you're battling the cold tires when you go back out. That's so painful.
100%, Andrew. When you leave the pit exit line, even if you didn't stop in the box, all your pit options reset, and that's probably exactly what caught out Hinchey. Probably did not think of that, serving the pass.
Coming Burrows leaves. You saw Randall White as well. Randall White made up multiple seconds on Todd Alea, about 2 seconds in fact. It's now a 2-second gap. As well, call it 2.5 seconds, as it lengthens a little bit on this straightaway. About 1.5 seconds then that Randall White made up on Todd Alea. That is big. And Kevin Burrows into the 3rd spot. Johnny Alford finally comes in and pits. And we'll see if this is a long stopping off for Alford. It is not. 11.4 seconds, right about on the money. Oberlo also in. Can Estep be the final car that has to pit? Oh, no. Dustin Oberlo. You even, on the broadcast, I'm sure you guys heard it key up, and yeah, that was a short change of tires. He probably only changed one side or only a couple of those tires. Oh, goodness. He mashed the throttle as soon as fuel wrapped up, expecting to pull away, forgot to uncheck tires.
Little mistakes, Andrew. That could be the definition of how your day goes in these 60-minute races. One little mistake, and all of a sudden you change the entire outlook of your day.
Sean Cole, Johnny Alford, after the pit stops, they work by Ken Estep, and they're battling for 8th and 9th. And, I mean, that's really the tail of the race now, as Mike Nickham gets ahead of Dustin Oberlo through the pits, given Oberlo's mistake. And it's a 2.5-second gap out front. Can Randall White put pressure on Todd Alea and reel him in? We haven't seen this at all yet. We have not seen Randall be able to do much of anything. Maybe he's been saving for this run after the pits, but I just don't know if he's got it.
Maybe, and we'll have to see. For what it's worth, Andrew, it was 2 seconds in the box. That was the difference between Randall White and Todd Alea. Now, was Alea overfueling just to be safe because he had a margin? Or did Randall White hit his number exact? And maybe we're going to be able to see these guys go 100% all the way to the checkers. We'll have to see here. But 2.5 seconds, it's a tall task, but is doable.
Ken Estep now finally pits. He's going to cycle out, let's see, around the 15th or 16th position with Sam Hinchy and others. Still on board here with Randall White, inside of 12 minutes to go. We're expecting 42 laps today. We're currently coming around to lap 34, so we're finishing lap 33. That would be 9 laps to go. I don't think we're getting all 9 of those in, maybe 8. Regardless, the chances for Randall White to make up this time are dwindling, and quite frankly, Emerson, I'm not sure he's going to get there. I know I've already said it. Todd Alea is good. I don't know where this guy came from. He missed the first race of the season. He doesn't have any big-time team affiliation here. I suppose neither does Randall White, but he's just good.
I think it means a little bit more when you're able to get it done, and in the interview you can see me say me, myself, and I kind of did this job. He's got VRS there on the side. That's probably maybe where setup base comes from, but remember that Todd Alea, he's just shown up and he's proven he can be consistent. Like I said, he's had second in all the races, the past 4 races, and then of course Sam Holt's issue, feet away from the start finish line, got the win at Daytona. But Alea this time looking to just do it on outright speed, and maybe he just got to the point where he could save a little bit, not in terms of fuel, but just tires and energy, to the point where he can just run decent lap times from here to the end, and he may just do it.
As I put it to you earlier, Emerson, in our side-by-side break a little bit ago, it's refreshing to see the racing we're seeing in the Simpit Road Racing Series, and the storylines that we're seeing work out. And this will be a gain for Todd Alea at the end of the day in the championship, but only about 10 points. So he'll be closer. Certainly still gives him a better chance now for the championship, but it's just refreshing to see a blank car, or nearly blank car in this case, go in races. We usually see cars decked out in decals, and I love those paint schemes. I love those storylines. I love those teams, those partnerships, everything else. But it's refreshing to see a plain Jane blue car power away to the lead like this. And sure, it maybe should have been Terry Crouch, but that is racing, and sometimes you'll have a part failure, sometimes something breaks, sometimes somebody does something wrong in the pit lane, and that's your day done. You could call it that for Terry Crouch. In this case, it was network connection for Terry, and Todd Alea is the benefactor, the beneficiary, if you will, and he's done a fantastic job. He's starting to give up a little bit of time. It's a 2-second gap now. But regardless, both of these guys, plain Jane race cars, a little bit more design there to Randall White's car. They don't seem to have any teammates. They just seem to come out here and do it on their own on Sunday afternoons. That is refreshing to see.
Absolutely. And yeah, of course, Terry Crouch had the advantage early. We have no idea how the race would have played out But again, there was a 3.5-second advantage in the favor of Terry Crouch. For Randall White, he had to claw through a pack of, I mean, no pushovers behind with Kevin Burrows and Joe Antonio. Randall White got through that little group of cars. He drove away, clear away, 5.25 seconds ahead of Kevin Burrows. So Randall White, he, as you said, Aaron, just as impressive to get to this point.
Sam Hinchy, by the way, finally did make his pit stop, and well, yeah, we saw when he came in and got tires even after his initial trip down the pit lane where he had to serve that penalty. 16th spot, by the way, 19, nearly 20 seconds behind Kenny Stepp. A very dismal day for the Porsche there for car 93. Was in the top 10 and now is 16th spot. Meanwhile, Ed Sancinelli is still over 1 lap behind his nearest competition. That is Christian Clark ahead in 18th. Ed is still 16th now, 2 laps down. He's got some damage there, so on the left side of that car. Just kind of recapping, tying some loose ends on these heartbreaks of the day with 7.5 minutes to go. I think triumphs, though, you got to look back to position 7, David Payne. I mean, the way these guys go back and forth, David Payne and Ed Sancinelli, is kind of remarkable. And coming into today, I believe they're even on wins. And Payne is going to go back up 1 notch and reel back in probably, what, like we said, I think 24 points, making an 18-point gap. So more than half of what he needs to get back into the championship lead, David Payne is making today alone. That is huge.
Absolutely, and props to both of them. I props to Sancinelli because it's so easy to get down in the dumps after an opening lap incident like Sancinelli did and just quit. But he has fought through, and he's here in the final 6.5 minutes of this race, and just picking up scraps, but running this race all the way out. And you know, he easily just could have just quit after that, and he lets the leader Todd Leia by there. And then for
that
David
3
Payne,
laps down, that's painful.
Yep. Oof. But you know what? He's still here. Very much can leave now and just, you know, hang his cap on today and just leave it at that. But he's gonna finish it out from the way it looks. And David Payne, a great job. He's pulled away from the competition he was facing in Sean Cole earlier, and he's settled in the 7th place here very nicely.
Well, with all of those recapped and paid off, this could be interesting. Randall White making up a little bit of time. It was down, like it was on the fringe of 2 seconds. You know, I was just looking through all of the telemetry, all of the timing and scoring, and I just happened to notice it was starting to dwindle down a little bit, and then it pops right back up. I still can't tell exactly where Randall White is better than Todd Alea right now. All I know is he is slightly better, I think, again, in a vacuum, but he can't put the laps together that he needs to.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Randall White did have to fight and claw to get to this position, and then to open up the advantage he has out behind, and of course strategize his way to close this gap, and it's now under 1.9 seconds, 1.8, and 1.8 seconds there at this part of the track. But Alea, he has the fastest lap of the race, and
well, that's where he's better. Look at that, 1.7. So well, it goes back up a little bit, but he's making up time.
Might be something too. Maybe his setup is maybe a little bit better at the cornering.
I'm impressed. Between turn 4, 5, 6, he made up a lot of time there on the leader, Todd Alea. Randall White, he might not be done yet. I don't know that he's going to get there, but he's not going to go out without a fight. He's at least going to make himself known in the final 4 laps of racing. We're on lap 39 now. 39, 40, 41, 42 to go. So 4 laps to go. We'll see. It's going to be close.
Up the hill, it's still 1.8, and was gained there in the favor, now 1.7. And Alea should be looking at that. That was one of the slower laps for Alea. He might have made a mistake last lap, but he hasn't reopened up any gap either. So we continue to watch on.
right here. This is where Randall makes up that time. Turn 4 through turn 7. It's a 1.9 second gap currently. Grows a little bit in 6, and this is where it just plummets. 1.9, 1.8. Well, it goes back up a little bit where Todd gets back to power, and then Randall makes that time up. 1.7. And now it stagnates. And that's right where he was last lap. That's not enough. That is not enough at all.
Maybe there was a self-evaluation there from Todd Alea, and he kind of picked up the pace a little bit there to maintain what he's got, to not let this race get closer, to not give Randall White a sniff of a chance to take this lead position away with 2:45 left on the clock here. This is coming down to the mental aspect of the game.
2.5 minutes to go. Expecting about 3 laps, maybe only 2 laps. It depends on when these guys get back to the start-finish line and begin the next lap. I guess really begin the white flag lap.
All these guys, they run external apps more than likely if you're up here, like caps or sim racing apps or something that shows you lap times and deltas throughout, or even the default iRacing HUD in terms of the relative. You can kind of see where it fluctuates and see where you have to pick up the pace or where you're doing okay, and I'm sure eyes continue to move towards those little widgets that they have on their screen that shows all that information all throughout the laps.
One and a half minutes to go, 90 seconds on regulation. Todd Alea comes to the start-finish line, begins a new lap there. Oh, 2 laps to go. Yeah, that's definitely the way that's going to work out. These guys will get back to the start-finish line right as regulation expires. This actually could then... Let's check the flag stand. No, he has a green flag in hand, so I think we're going to have just enough time to get one more lap in. So this is 2 laps to go for the field. Todd Alea works through turn number 3. I suppose the only thing now that Randall can hope for is an off-track penalty for Todd Alea. I don't know. I haven't been paying enough attention to maybe see if Todd has gotten a few off tracks. I know he's definitely hit a few curbs. You can see that by the left front of that car. It's got just a little bit of damage. He's popped a curb or 2. But that's about the only thing I think that Randall can hope for. This is a really odd race. I think it's broken a lot of previous trends in this series. And is setting a new one, certainly for Todd Alea. I think he is the top driver right now. If we had power rankings, he would be it.
One trend is for sure is Todd Alea has brought the heat every single week for the past 4 and now 5. And he has looked pretty stout week in and week out. And here comes off the final corner.
1 lap to go here at Red Bull Ring. The white flag is out, presented by Whiplash Media Sim Cams. It's 1 lap to go for Todd Alea at the Red Bull Ring at Austria. He's got 2 seconds to Randall White. And again, championship implications for this are going to be that Todd makes up 10 points. And where that puts him is 23 points then behind Randall White. If he holds on to this 2-second lead, or really any part of it, to the checkers, but you can see lap traffic suddenly is an issue.
And the gap is just small enough to where Alea can't really lay over. He's probably going to be hoping... maybe some communication to try to help his cause, maybe get these cars out of the way, or at least have them keep the pace up to where this doesn't become an issue.
And what's difficult is Brandon Carl and Kenny Sett, the 2 cars ahead, they're battling.
Oh, man.
Now, they're not super close in the racetrack. They're separated by about a second, but they are battling. They're trying to keep their own pace ahead of Todd Alea. I don't think it's going to be any kind of large impact. It seems like those cars are just fast enough not to hurt Todd. And even while Todd Alea gives up a little bit of time here in the final couple of corners, it is going to be just enough for car 27 to go back to victory lane in the Simpit Road Racing Series, winning at the Red Bull Ring.
Fantastic job from Todd Alea. Of course, kind of sprung himself to the lead after Terry Crouch's misfortune there with the packet loss, but still a great drive from Todd Alea, well-deserved victory. And David Payne, not enough to be said about the drive he's put on to place it where it is right now, 8th, and be running up here with the pros. It's been a fantastic day.
He's let a few pros go on by, but he's still got 19 seconds back to second in class. David Payne racks up another, this time at Red Bull Ring, going to victory lane in the number 73 Porsche in amateur. A big, big win for the Canadian today. And that is going to do so much in the standings. Again, we theorize it should take that deficit down to just 18 points between first and second in amateur competition. So we're going to have a much tighter race next week at Le Mans, which is pretty crazy to think about. The biggest track on the schedule, the most historic track potentially on the schedule, is going to have the best championship battle you've seen in weeks, and maybe the beginning of an epic finish for this season.
It may very well bring it. We have the opportunity to set the stage up for something pretty great here, and this series, it hasn't disappointed this season. I'd imagine we can continue to keep the action up.
60 minutes of racing then wraps up here from Red Bull Ring. Let's go ahead and look through our race results, unofficially as they may be. Todd Alea with the win today over Randall White. 1.6 second gap at the end. Randall just made a little bit of time up, but it wasn't quite enough on Todd Alea, who goes to victory lane today. Kevin Burrows there third. Joey Antonio fourth. Moses Choi fifth. Chris Generelli, 6th place in one of his return races. Johnny Alford there in 7th, breaking up the otherwise solid top 10 of all Porsches. Then David Payne, your amateur race winner in car 73, 8th overall over Sean Cole, and Dan Clark, who finishes 2nd in amateur.
11th at Stan Donna, who's able to recover relatively well. Mike Nickham comes home in 12th. Dustin Oberlo will end up there in 13th position. Rated Carl 14th. Ken Estep was the last car on the lead lap. You saw them battling just in front of race winner Todd Alea there at the end. Sam Hinchy with some mistakes with the pass through, and then having tires like that on his pit stop, comes from 1 lap off the pace there in 16th. Also 1 lap off the pace. Leschmom in 17th. Christian Clark there in 18th. Ed Santinelli, he fought through. He had a little bit of a spin there at the end, spinning into pit lane. He'll end up 3 laps off the pace in 19th. And Ola Sarnquist will come home in 20th. Did leave the race early, though, 34 laps.
And it looks like Ed Santinelli actually finishes 8th in class. That's going to change this up, actually. It's going to be a 26-point gain for David Payne. That's going to take a 42-point deficit down to, what, 16 points? Oh boy, the amateur fight just got a whole lot more interesting with this race alone. Again, no drop weeks from what I at least have seen, so this is going to get very, very interesting heading into the final 3 races of the season. Finishing 21st through 23rd, the favorite to win today is certainly Terry Crouch. Disconnected after 4 laps. Will finish 21st, and then Chris Schultheis and James Dowling, caught up in lap 1 incidents, will finish unofficially. And, well, really, not even finished. DNF, 41 laps down, 22nd and 23rd. It was definitely a fun day of racing here at the Red Bull Ring. That you cannot disagree with, I don't think. A great day of racing, as we always see with this Simpit Road Racing Series. We've come to expect these great races. I fear for the day where we have one that isn't as exciting, but it was a good day regardless here under the Austrian sun. Let's go ahead and bring in our race winner, Todd Alea. It is not the second consecutive race, but the second race total that you've won now, Todd. Did you ever think that would be the case coming into this season, missing the first race and kind of joining these guys a little bit late?
Yeah, I was really excited when I heard about this league, and I was bummed that I missed the first race. So, I'm really lucky to be up front. This is not one of my best tracks. I really didn't put in a whole lot of practice. Was able to put some good practicing right before the race, but I'm super stoked to get out of here with a win, even though Terry was running away with it.
Yeah, I think we all know that Terry Crouch might have been the favorite on the day, but that's racing. That's how it goes sometimes. So how are you going to use this? Obviously, you make up 10 points, but how are you going to use this to your advantage to try and win this championship? I mean, you're in that conversation now. We project it'll be a 23-point gap. How do you feel for Le Mans? How do you feel?
Well, a couple of the tracks coming up are two of my favorites. I'm not going to say which, but yeah.
I like it. A little taste, I guess, a little hint, but keeping your cards close. I guess I'm not going to ask you directly then if Le Mans is your favorite, but do you feel strong for Le Mans? Do you think you'll have a good car next week?
Let's see. I haven't driven Le Mans in a while. I was pretty good at it last season, so we'll see what happens. But, I'm a Florida guy, so Sebring is my track.
Okay, we're getting an idea. Definitely Sebring is one of the two, and it's either Le Mans or Fuji for the other one. So I'm intrigued to see which one it is. Todd, congratulations. 37 laps led tonight. And you know what? Before we let you go, actually, how about this plain Jane baby blue paint scheme? Are you thinking of changing that up at all this season? Or who makes it happen for you? We see Simicube and VRS there. Tell us a bit more about Todd Alea and how you get to these wins.
Well, I've had this color car since I started with iRacing, and Stand On It actually helped me with the decals and the carbon fiber, and he really dressed it up nice. There's just something about the blue that I really like, and I guess the camera likes it too, so I'm going to stick with it.
Well, there you go. The cameras definitely seem to find a way to that baby blue 27. Once again, Todd, congratulations. We'll see you next week at Le Mans.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Second place tonight, Emerson. That's going to be Randall White. He's our leader still of the championship, but maybe not for long if this continues.
Yeah, it was quite the day for Randall White. For what it's worth, he had to claw his way through that group of cars early on, and then ended up about near 7 seconds ahead of them. But Randall, what more could you have done when it comes to Todd Alea?
Randall, we see you keying up the mic, but we're not hearing anything come through. See if maybe Randall can get that fixed. But I will say, Emerson, another one of the kind of plain Jane drivers, doesn't seem like he has too many teammates or partners out there on the racetrack. Again, it speaks to the impressiveness of the season that these guys are putting together.
Absolutely.
I'm here, guys.
Hey, there you are, Randall. But back to the question then. It looks like you had a pretty good day, like I said, to get to the second position. But what more could you have done when it comes to maybe trying to catch Todd Alea?
I was trying as hard as I could, man. I was going 100%. I just couldn't catch him. I could kind of match his pace a little bit. I wasn't sure how much he was pushing, but wasn't really much more I could do on my side.
Well, you still do hold a point advantage atop the pro standings, but that did shrink a little bit over the course of the next few weeks. We have Le Mans coming up next. How are you feeling in terms of trying to maintain that?
I think I've only raced there one time before, a couple years ago, so I have to put in some practice, trying to figure it out.
Well, there you go. And then as far as Le Mans, what advantages do you think you could bring there when it comes to your pro competitors?
Go as low downforce as you can. Push the pedal down and see what happens. That's about all you can do there.
Fair enough. Well, Randall White coming home second, still atop the pro standings. Not too shabby day at all for Randall. Congratulations on your second place finish. Best luck to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Randall White, certainly, I think, one of the stronger drivers. I think that's pretty agreeable, considering he's leading the points. We'll see if he's able to hold on, though, as Todd Alea mounts a late-season charge, and I'm really intrigued to see how that works out with Sam Holt, hopefully coming back next week, maybe even a rare appearance of Elliott Hellier in the last couple of races this season. That could change things up as well. Let's go on down, though, to David Payne, the amateur class winner today. And David, I don't think this is where we expected any of this race to have gone today. You didn't really have to battle for it after lap 1. What happened lap 1 from your perspective?
I saw 2 cars turning, and I just took a 1X, drove around. I think I was in the right spot.
Yeah, right spot at the right time, and clearly it pays off. This is a whole boatload of points for you. It looks like a 26-point difference between you and Ed today. That should put you about 16 points out of the lead, and suddenly it looks like you might not have a chance with 4 races to go to you are squarely in it, only 16 points back, headed into Le Mans. How do you use that to your advantage next week?
More practice. I think that's about it. Le Mans is not one of my tracks, so I'm going to have to put in the effort for sure.
And what makes a track one of your tracks or not one of your tracks? What about a track do you like or not like?
I mean, I think it's just familiarity. Like, there's tracks I've raced more, so obviously I like them better. And then there's the newer tracks, which I haven't. I think that it just comes down to that. Less corners becomes more of a favorite, for sure.
Less corners. Well,
yes.
Then I suppose you'll be great down the Mulsanne straight.
Yeah.
So I guess another question would be, what do you focus on, particularly in practice? What are you going for when building this setup, or at least just tweaking this setup?
Just something that makes me consistent. I think that'll adapt, or that'll accept my mistakes being an amateur. I think, yeah, making sure it's a safe setup.
There you go. That's what David Payne goes for, and clearly it works, man. You've been fantastic at this amateur class, and definitely, if not a guaranteed pro, in the conversations for pro next season. And David, I can't wait to see how that goes for you. Congratulations, the win today. We'll see you next week.
Me too. Thank you.
David Payne, a good day of racing today here at Red Bull Ring. Let's go on down, though, to Dan Clark, who finishes second.
Well, it was a pretty good race overall then for Dan Clark. With missing of the last race and then not having the best of days at Daytona. Dan, what do you make of your race today?
I'm very happy with my finish today. There was a lot of practice on consistency because this track will fight you in a heartbeat on and off track. I think I finished with 9, so practice and consistency. Apexes and turn in. That's what I kept telling myself the whole race.
Absolutely. And it looked like he was pretty far out there. Was there any way you could have really kind of restructured your race? Maybe have a shot at David Payne, or were you just more or less coasting along to this 10th place overall and 2nd place in class kind of run?
When after we got through that melee at turn 2, and I was with Sean and David, I felt I was keeping a pretty good pace, but maybe 2 or 3 laps into that, I was seeing their times consistently like 0.3, 0.5 of a second a lap faster. I was just like, I just want to keep this position. I'm gonna keep my consistency. I'm not gonna push. I don't need first. I didn't race last week. I'm good just surviving this one.
Well, there you go. And now next up is Le Mans. What are you kind of looking at Le Mans? Do you feel confident heading there? What is Dan Clark going to be able to do there?
I am going to be looking to repeat this position, maybe put up a bit more of a fight with David, and it was too bad about Edgar. I was looking forward to racing with him, get up and get something going with them. So that's what I'm hoping for next week. But again, practice, consistency, turn in. With some of these off tracks, it's easy to run into an off to get to 12 real fast, and then doesn't matter how well you were running time-wise. If you're taking 30 seconds out, it's all for nothing. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on.
Well, there you go. 2nd place finisher in the amateur category and 10th place overall. Pretty good day then for Dan Clark. Congratulations then on the 2nd place finish, the top 10, and best of luck to you next week.
Thanks, Emerson. Thanks, guys.
There you go. Dan Clark wraps up a solid day of racing for him, coming home not only in the top half of competition, but in 2nd in amateur competition. All in all, Emerson, just a good day of racing, as we've come to expect from these guys. But we've got more racing to come from the Simpit Road Racing Series throughout the course of the season. And this graphic is a little bit skewed, and I realized this actually just a little while ago. But We do have Atlanta this Wednesday, as that has been postponed due to the impacts from Hurricane Nicole. Thankfully, while yes, Hurricane Nicole impacted several, and I'm sure you can explore as to how you can donate to the efforts down in Florida, it was not nearly as impactful as Hurricane Ian. We're thankful for that at the very least, but that did halt Atlanta Motor Speedway plans for us for the Outlaw Sim Series this past week, which means we're racing there this week, Emerson, and I'm sure you can tell us a whole lot more about it.
Absolutely. We're here in the round of 8. And all the spots are still up for grabs as well. Vincent Cortez got it done at Homestead. He's not a playoff driver, and still things can go anyone's way at the Super Speedway at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's going to be a fun night, and hopefully this time we will be able to get it in and maybe get a little clearer picture on who's going to be racing for a championship in I guess 5 weeks time.
Of course, you see there Sunday, the Simpit Road Racing Series. Well, that is accurate, but also on Sunday, we will actually begin the day with the iFormula League. This is a tongue twister, actually, of a league name. The iFormula League Formula 3 Championship, or Series, however you want to put that, will be going to Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the morning of Sunday, November 20th. We'll have that action here on Pit Stop TV at about 11:30 Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, that is. So a little bit bright and early compared to some of our broadcasts, but anytime we have an AM time, it's a little bit early for us, but nothing too crazy. We'll have a whole big day of racing on Sunday with Indianapolis and Le Mans, two of the most famous and most historic tracks in the world. And then, well, it says North Wilkesboro Speedway following up, but we will have the week off for Thanksgiving. So it'll be 2 Wednesdays before we see North Wilkesboro for the Outlaw Sim Series. Regardless, these races are relative. It's mostly accurate, but we'll get that changed up for Wednesday at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You'll see, again, like I said, the iFormula Formula 3 League populating there on that first column, if you will, with Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Sunday, then the Simpit Road Racing Series with the Law Sunday, and then we'll have a week off before Outlaws returns the following Wednesday, which I guess is November 30th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, it would be. So the full outlook, and I'll summarize this up a little bit, is today, of course, November 13th, we had the Simpit Road Racing Series here at Red Bull Ring. Then November 16th, that is Wednesday, we'll have Atlanta for Outlaws. Then the 20th, that is Sunday, this coming Sunday. We have the iFormula League at Indianapolis, then Simpit at Le Mans, and then Thanksgiving. And then the 27th of November, we have the Simpit Road Racing Series standalone. That will be from Sebring. And then Wednesday of that week, we'll have the Outlaws Sim Series from North Wilkesboro. And then we bring back the North American Racing League GT3 Series from Road America. So a whole lot is happening for the rest of November and into December. That is only in a matter of 3 weeks. A lot is happening coming up. But Emerson, with a lot happening, there's plenty of places to follow along.
Absolutely. You can keep up with all of the Pit Stop TV action across all of our social media outlets. Our Facebook page at facebook.com/pitstoptv. Our Instagram at pit_stop_TV. Our Twitter at pitstoptv_. We're live today on Twitch at twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV. And our YouTube channel, of course, youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1.
Well, Emerson, final thoughts here from the Red Bull Ring. What do you have for us?
It was pretty much as I expected. Opening lap chaos. Fantastic battling that went on quite a bit. We kind of saw the race kind of ebb and flow into different drivers' favors. We saw some drivers get caught out with off tracks, as Dan Clark pointed out. And yeah, we had a great race. Some drivers kind of fell out of their battles due to mistakes, but other than that, it was a pretty fun day.
It was definitely a fun day here at the Red Bull Ring. Thanks so much for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. For all that get it done for us, let's mention them again. The Simpit, Gomez Sim Industries, and of course, Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports, and our partners here at the channel, Whiplash Media Simcams, SimRapMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup in Cryo in Maine, and everybody else here at the channel that gets things done. Everybody behind the scenes, including myself, Andrew Cardinal IV, and alongside me today, Emerson Arden. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time, hopefully for the Outlaws Sim Series from Atlanta Motor Speedway this Wednesday, November 16th. We'll see you there.